Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you live to episode number 51 of the Primetime Rundown interview series powered by StreamYard right here on the Eastern Observer. I'm Joey Jarzynka. We are joined here by University of Rhode Island Rhodey Rams softball head coach Bridget Hurlman on Doubleheader Tuesday. Bridget, how are you? And thank you so much for joining me here on this Tuesday evening.
I'm doing great, Joey. Thanks for having me. Excited.
Absolutely. And just for the viewers out there that do not know, Bridget Hurlman has come to us by the way of Al Carl. And for those that do not know who Al Carl is, well, then shame on you for not watching the show before us. We said that it was Doubleheader Tuesday here on the Eastern Observer. We cannot thank all the viewers enough who have tuned in to the Essential Wrestling podcast from 6 to 8. And now for us from 8 to hopefully whenever, and we'll be able to get the show off and running and on the road and ready to go because it's going to be a fun one. For those that are just watching for the first time also, we are 51 episodes in with great guests, and Bridget Hurlman is the 51st guest of a long list of fantastic sports executives, sports play-by-play people, analysts, color analysts, Stanley Cup champions, and we'd like to add Bridget Hurlman to that list. So let's get things started here. And how are you and your family doing in quarantine thus far?
Definitely doing good. We've been blessed with all healthy. So just trying to do the best we can to stay busy and stay safe and, grow a little while we have some time. So.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it because it's crazy because we're nearly 11 months into this thing. And, I don't know, I'm hoping that there is an end in sight. And obviously, we all do. And softball season can get off and running again. Where obviously it came down to a screeching halt last year at the University of Rhode Island and really all across the globe, where everything shut down. But we'll get to that later on in the program. For those that do not know, we get to know who our guests are beyond the media guide. Just what is written, we want to know just a little bit more. So let's get things started here. So your hometown, you were born and raised, you're a native New Yorker in Yonkers and Westchester County. You attended Our Lady of Victory. And you also went to college, Marist College, and you graduated cum laude 2006 athletic training. This is something crazy because obviously you are a part of the National Athletic Trainers Association, but you're a softball coach now. So let's go a little chronological order here. Athletic trainer, was that always your first love?
It's funny you say that. I think growing up and kind of going into college, athletic training all but made sense to me. I was very strong in science. I love sports. I love helping people, just definitely in my nature. So that was just something that I thought would be, an easy fit for me. In choosing a college, that was something that was very important to me. Being able to go to a college where I actually could continue playing softball as well as doing athletic training as my undergrad major was definitely, it was a difficult find, but I was able to find my home at Marist College, which allowed me, to play Division I sports, as well as a science heavy major that had other clinical hours and other demands, but they were able to make it work for me. So that was definitely something that I loved athletic training, but always kind of ran side by side. And even when I took a year after I graduated, I went down to Disney and the wide world of sports, and I did some athletic training there. And then I came back, and then it was only for half a year, and then I coached for the other half a year. And then I went into, I wanted to get my master's in coaching leadership. I knew that was something, sports management and coaching leadership was something that I always felt strongly about as well. But I did a GA in the sports medicine department at St. John's there. So again, still my two loves kind of running side by side with one another, doing both. And then when it was kind of coming down to the end of it in the spring that I was graduating, I found myself going to every home softball game And one of the questions I asked myself was if I had to get up at 6 a.m. to do treatments, or I had to get up at 6 a.m. to do a hitting lesson, which would really kind of get me up and get me going in the morning. And the hitting lesson won out. So it was something that I was very blessed to get an opportunity to coach with one of my former college coaches right away. He had an opening as an assistant coach, and off and running I went.
It's really unbelievable because now your two loves, as you brought up just a few moments ago, was softball, athletic training, and then to be able to take the next step in terms of coaching. Was this something that you envisioned many, many years ago when you were at Our Lady of Victory?
I don't think I envisioned coaching being ultimately what I would end up doing, but anyone who does coach ends up knowing that it's a calling. And I think
Yeah.
once you kind of do it, and you kind of see the impact that you can have on young women, and just a great portion of their life, where what you say and do can really help them grow into amazing young women. I think it's something that I don't think there's another thing that I could equate to it. So I think once you kind of see the impact you have, I think it really does stick.
When you were at Marist College, when you were a Red Fox, your main position was catcher. You would also play a little bit of third base sometimes. You earned second team All MAC honors following 2005, 2006, and 2005 was a pretty big year for you. Posted a 331 batting average. You started every game either at catcher or you were the DP, the designated player, and you also led Marist with 7 home runs, 33 RBIs, and a 569 slugging percentage. But then in the following year, 22 walks was a team high for the Red Foxes, MAC all-tournament team, and you were a part of the first ever MAC championship. So obviously, for those that are watching here that know who you are, you know that you are almost a lifelong MAC resident, if you will. We'll get to that later on. But to be a part of the college's or the program's first ever MAC championship, Bridget, tell me how good that felt for you and what the feeling was for you in that whole season, where things just kept raising. You guys kept raising the bar the whole season.
Yeah, I mean, it was, the feeling is indescribable. It's something that I'll probably chase for the rest of my life. Anyone who knows what it takes to win a championship, you have to give absolutely everything. Morning, noon, and night, that has to be your priority. You have to put other things on the shelf in order to do the things that have to be done in order to be a champion. And when when you're lucky enough that everything kind of falls in line, and there is a little bit of luck involved, but also when the hard work just ultimately pays off, I don't think that there's anything more genuine in the world to know that all of the grinding, all of the late nights, all of the extra sessions and all of that, and then you kind of have this amazing group of your teammates and people who you now call family around you. It takes every single person to be able to do that. And I think now being in athletics as long as I have, I think back then I don't think I was naive, but definitely just know how awesome and blessed I was to be able to actually be a part of that, because it doesn't happen every single day. And I think having just pride in a university, in a place that you are, and you really believe in the school and the athletic department and the people around you. And there definitely was a tradition of winning there. Softball had just never kind of found their way to that championship. And that's definitely something that I'll take with me for the rest of my life. I don't think that being a part of the first championship team there, and to be able to be captain and just bring that home for the athletics department and the university was pretty awesome.
There's a quote that I've decided to go with many, many times, and this is for all the viewers out there. And one of our guests that we had on about a few months ago, Ken Daniels from the Detroit Red Wings, one of his quotes was, "Luck is when preparation meets opportunity," and to prepare, to keep driving, to keep doing the work. And it seems as if, Bridget, for you, you just kept on going, 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 and you did not stop preparing. You did not stop working. And obviously, the statistics speaks for itself, as we brought up earlier. 331 batting average, 7 homers, 33 RBIs, 22 walks, and you were a part of the all-tournament team as well. So you had a fantastic MAC tournament as well during that year. But then, as you said, you brought up the word you brought up the word indescribable. You give everything. Sacrifices is another thing too. And then eventually you became an assistant coach the following year, following your graduation at SUNY Purchase. Talk about that time and how you got to go there.
Actually, it was through actually one of my former teammates. She had known the head coach there, and he had just kind of put out some feelers like, "Hey, do you have anyone that's that you would know?" And again, I think timing was just right. I was still at living in Yonkers at the time, and it was about 20 minutes away. And I knew I was gonna ultimately enroll in graduate school the next fall, so I kind of had a spring free. And she said, "Hey, I think I have the perfect person for you." And I was able to call the head coach, and we chatted a little bit, and I jumped on board.
And just like that, all of a sudden, your career took off just from there. And you worked primarily with pitchers, catchers, and assisted with offensive instruction as well. And how was, and obviously because you were a catcher and you were able to, relate to everything going on there. And obviously your offensive production in college, as we brought up earlier, we alluded to earlier, spoke for itself. And you were able to help out there, which really is great stuff. But I want to backtrack here to you being an athletic trainer, because you brought up earlier how you worked at Wide World of Sports at Disney World, and you worked with a majority of sports. And then you were a graduate assistant at my alma mater at St. John's University. And you worked with women's cross country, track and field, working with, I would assume, Jim Hurt, right? At one point. That's right, the legendary Jim Hurt. Men's and women's soccer, Dave Mazur and Ian Stone, and men's lacrosse. So all pretty good stuff there. But with you going back to school and you being a graduate assistant athletic trainer, you were an assistant at SUNY Purchase, but then obviously both. You had two different paths that you were going down, and you received your master's. You were able to get an assistant coaching job at Manhattan. How did that all work out, where you could have been a full-time athletic trainer, but you chose that road, obviously, with the opportunity? But talk about that and how you said, "You know what? We're going to go down this road."
I definitely think, athletic training is definitely a grind, as a profession. I think that's something that the more you get into it, it definitely is something that you really have to be passionate about, the science, the continuing education, a lot of that stuff. And I think just kind of, in terms of being a master of your craft, I think that's something that, for me, I think just softball inherently, I wanted that insatiable knowledge of, how to grow as a coach, how to grow as a motivator, how I felt like I wanted to be able to touch the student athlete in a much more direct way. In terms of that aspect. I think with athletic training, you're just as much a member of the staff, but you just play a little bit of a different role. It isn't as, you can touch and you can have your impact, but I think as a coach, as someone that they really do look to for guidance in all kind of areas, I think that was something that just inherently was what I wanted to be. I wanted to be able to provide, you're only typically going going through your career 4 or 5 years, depending, and just being able to provide, an environment, a program where young women could come and really enjoy their 4 years, I think was something that was just for me, it just called, and I really just wanted to be able to do that and pass on the game, and really just make my impact on the world in that area.
And it's different too when you are an athletic trainer, when you're standing back and there's a possibility when the officials can basically call an official timeout, you have to run out. It's very grinding too, because we've seen it, and because I'm in the collegiate field as well, and we've seen athletic trainers, they have to go out, and it's very it's obviously you have to do it in a timely manner as well, because then you're stopping the game and stuff like that. But for you, to be able to get a little bit of a taste of what athletic training is all about, and then to be able to do that, and then be a part of your to do what you love to do in softball, is really great. Around that time, not too long after, you became the assistant coach for the Manhattan Jaspers. And the reason why I brought up earlier, to those that do not remember why I said that, is that you were a lifelong MAC resident, okay? And the Manhattan Jaspers are in the MAC. So you became an assistant coach there, and you helped recruit many players. We'll get to all the accolades in just a second, but talk about how that became a thing for you, and how the Manhattan job came to fruition.
First and foremost, I think the MAC is an awesome conference in terms of, being challenged academically and athletically. The students are definitely student athletes. They are there to get a phenomenal education, excel in the classroom, and then also, compete at a high level in terms of softball. So the MAC for me was always a great blend. There's a great a balance that the students are able to achieve. I think the actual conference itself, a lot of the, the coaches, a lot of the universities that are in it, they're great. I mean, they're all very similarly built, high academic, really what will draw kids to those schools are kids that want to excel both on and off the field. So that was something that, was always pretty cool. In terms of getting the job at Manhattan, my assistant coach from college actually got the head coaching job there, and I had kind of heard about it,
Okay.
and I had said, "Hey, I'm looking for a job." And Manhattan is actually 15 minutes away from where I was, born and raised. So just kind of the stars aligned and timing was good. And I had a phenomenal relationship with Coach Pardalis in college, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go chase another championship.
At the time, Coach Pardalis, Tom Pardalis, was with the Manhattan Jaspers 12 years at the helm at the time, and you were there in Manhattan College for 6 seasons, roughly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
6 seasons, and as we brought up earlier, some of the accolades that Bridget was there for and helped earn: 6 All-MAC first team selections, 3 All-MAC team second team selections as well. You also recruited Elena Bowman, 2015 MAC Player of the Year, 2015 All-Rookie Pitcher. Not going to try to butcher the name here, but Brianna Matazinski. Does that sound right? I think that's
awesome.
There we go. Cool. All right, cool. I have to channel my inner Polish there to try and to try and get that right. But 2015 all-rookie pitcher, again, to be able to recruit these players is really something for you, as you brought up earlier, to really give these girls a chance to fulfill their dream. But for you to be able to say, well, I helped recruit this, I recruited these players, how good does that make you feel, not only as a coach, but also someone that really wants to strive in this industry? Because it's so difficult to become a Division I coach, let alone eventually, obviously, a head coach. But at the time, to become a Division I assistant coach is not many people can say that they've done that ever.
Well, I think first and foremost, like recruiting is always going to be the bloodline of any program. It's definitely something that you have to try and get the most talented players you can in order to help you succeed. And I think for me, especially with recruiting, I think it's always about a great fit. So you find someone who it's mutual. They can come and they really can thrive and flourish academically, and then you can see them. My gauge is always, can they help us win a championship? I mean, if I don't see them on the mound, in left field, at first base, and at that time it was a MAC championship game, then that's what I'm out there. I'm on the path I'm grinding for, because I think recruiting is definitely something. The harder you work, the more opportunities that are opened up, and you often just are able to find the right pieces to the puzzle. So if you don't like recruiting, you're not gonna really survive as a coach. I'm just very blessed that that's something that actually is I really do love and enjoy. COVID has definitely changed a little bit of how we're doing our recruiting and all of that good stuff, but it's still exciting to this day. So to be able to get out there and chase that diamond in the rough a little bit.
Nah, yeah, no pun intended there, because to be able to go recruit and to be able to fly around the country, to be able to do whatnot as your occupation, talk about how good that feels to do that, where you can say that you go, if someone were to ask you, Bridget, and say, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm the head softball coach at University of Rhode Island. Oh, okay, well, what does that entail? Well, that entails, you recruit, you go out different places, and, people say, wow, you travel basically for a living. And, I don't travel from my house on Long Island to Brooklyn or to wherever, or at the time from Yonkers to Manhattan. You go literally all around the country. Now, where just to throw something in here, when you were with Manhattan, and was that your first time really recruiting and going out all over the place to, use your expertise and say, all right, we're gonna bring, for instance, Alana Bowman here, and how difficult was that to really say that, okay, my expertise is up to par, and it's going to land us eventually a championship or even a Player of the Year award?
I definitely think first and foremost, the traveling. I think that that's something. It is definitely a lot. It's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of work. So we go a lot of places, but I see a lot of softball fields.
Yeah.
You don't get to every now and again, every other year, we might take a day for ourselves to, for instance, Colorado is a week-long thing in the summer. That's one of the really pinnacles of softball recruiting. And
Yeah.
I was able to get up to Rocky Mountain National Park. I mean, I had been out to Colorado for 5 years and I had never really gotten to do anything. So, we were pretty solid in one of our recruiting classes. So I took, day 10 of 10 days and went out and did some stuff. But I think just being able to get out and nationally recruit, it's imperative, to be able to compete for, the best players and give us the best opportunity to get the talent we need to do what we need to do. I think is, it's definitely pretty awesome. Definitely different, than most people's 9 to 5 and all of that stuff. But
There is no 9 to 5 in our industry, that's for sure.
yeah, and I think one of the other unique things about recruiting that I do love is there is a certain camaraderie, on the recruiting trail. You get to see a lot of your colleagues on the weekend, and you're out there and you're competing for other recruits against them. But I think it's also it's also kind of cool. You talk about being a lifelong Macker, and that was
I like that. That's good.
I think that was something that was really awesome, is that a lot of the coaches they want to see you, and they know that you are passionate. They know who you were as a player, and now you're out there and you're grinding as a young coach. And I was very fortunate to have a lot of people around me, within the softball community that really encouraged me and wanted me to succeed. So I think that was definitely something. The support of the softball community has been pretty awesome in terms of just growing. As a coach, I think all of us learn from one another, and I don't think recruiting isn't that far from it. I mean, we always tell the kids, make an impression, because I might not be looking for a 2022 third baseman, but someone else might be, it's I think it's stuff like that where it's a pretty interesting aspect of what we do. But yeah, I mean, I think in terms of just having confidence in your actual recruiting ability, I think it's something that when you've been blessed to play around talented players, I was a multi-sport athlete. I think it's something that what you need to compete in a certain conference. And like I said, I mean, what your needs are, and there's a lot of things that have to align in order for it to be a great fit. But like I said, I think the hustle, that's definitely something that just doing all the research you can, majors, different, what your school has to offer. I think that was something that, along the lines of having pride in where you work and really believing in a university and what it can do for a young student athlete. And then on top of it, just knowing, that they were going to be able to come and have a great 4 years. I think that was something kids know when you're faking it and when you're not. And, it was definitely something that at the time it was Manhattan, and even now at the University of Rhode Island, it's believing in what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve, and really, being very open and honest with them about who you are, what you're looking to do, and where you're going. And I think if they want to be a part of that and you're open and honest, it's going to be a good start to a recruiting relationship. And I think the right people will commit.
Open and honest is key, because we've seen many times where it's simply not the case, where people are not open and honest, and that's how that's some things that could potentially get people in trouble, whether it be on the administration side or even on the player side of things, where especially on the player side, where it simply might not work out and they're simply stuck on the bench, or you might not start them, you might not play them at all, and it might not work out for your program, and eventually they have to transfer or whatever the case may be. So just for those aspiring coaches out there, obviously now you know that exactly what Bridget said. You have to look up the programs that the college offers, because what is it, Bridget? It's always academics always comes first, right?
Yeah, I mean, they are student athletes.
There you go.
So I think that's something, depending on how competitive you are on the athletic side. I think certain I think it's good for aspiring athletes to know miss class days. Is that something they're going to be in class or they're not going to be in class, just depending on the conference and the amount of travel and other things like that. And I don't think one is right or wrong. It's just going to kind of what's going to work for that student athlete.
Yeah. When you were with Manhattan, we'll give another few accolades here. You helped the team. You helped the Jaspers ranked top 35 nationally among Division I programs. Another amazing feat that you helped accomplish. The team went 59-45 in MAC play, finished with winning season with a winning season in 5 out of 6 years that you were there. And you were also the hitting coach at one point. You led the MAC in slugging, doubles, homers, walks, second in RBIs and on base percentage, and 4th in overall batting average in MAC play. These numbers stand out to many, and you were the lead woman in that role. Talk about how that feels, and obviously how you were able to bring those resume builders, if you will, to the University of Rhode Island.
I mean, I definitely think, you're blessed with the people around you. So, had some talented players, and just to be able to, I think just skill development, I think was huge. And I think honestly, just getting to know each and every one of them, and what was going to be able to, either reset, what was going to keep them confident, what did each of them need. I think that was definitely something that was imperative along the way, is just kind of getting to know them and what was going to help them succeed, during game time when the pressure was on. I think it's a combination of a lot of things, but some competitive, making sure that they're being competitive in practice every single day. And like I said, I think just, making sure that they got the, the skill development and the amount of work that they needed to be prepared for game day, for sure.
Now, obviously, your time in the MAC has come to a close. Now you're in the A10, but we'll get to that in just a moment on how you got to become the Rams head softball coach. But for all of those that are watching, we do invite you to bring in some questions, to ask Bridget some questions. We'll put her on the spot here. And, some really, again, for all joking aside, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Zingo Television, channel 198 for I-95 Sports Network, we invite you to ask all the questions in the world, because we want, we'd like to hear some other thoughts and some questions possibly on the upcoming season, on the different season that we're going to be expecting come 2021, or we are in 21 already, or come February in a couple of weeks, because you guys will be hitting the road pretty shortly. But concluding your time in the MAC, Bridget, give us your favorite road trip, I guess would have to say, or the favorite team or program that you guys would play.
Favorite road trip. I think it's twofold. Canisius Niagara was always the 8-hour bus ride that was kind of a dread. But it was also pretty cool, every other year to see, you get to go see Niagara Falls, and you would have, some of the younger, as a freshman or a sophomore, as you go, the juniors and seniors have seen it, but it's kind of cool when you're now like the upperclassmen, and then you have some of the younger underclassmen that see kind of Niagara Falls for the first time and some other things. So I think that trip was always, it was the gift that kept on giving. So a lot of bonding on the bus, and then just some, it was always, it just always seemed every single time we were going up there, it was for some, contention for a spot, or, it was always, in order to play well on the road, you just had to grind it out, that bus ride, and make sure that your trip up there was worth it, so that the 8 hours back home wasn't a long bus ride home. So I would say that's definitely definitely memorable. But I think Fairfield is a place that will always sit in my heart, is the field that we won the MAC championship on. So that's just another little piece of it, though.
Yeah. Those 8-hour bus trips, I can attest to that, Bridget. Ridiculously brutal, especially after a loss, and to hear and to see nothing in a dark bus, usually at night, is gotta be the worst thing, when everyone's just staring at their phones, the frowns on their faces, and they're saying absolutely nothing. You hear nothing. It is just brutal. A couple of years had gone by for you, and 2016, you were hired as the University of Rhode Island Rams head softball coach, and that's where you are now. And you've been there now for going to be 6 years in the Atlantic 10. And there's many, many accolades there as well. We'll get to that in just a second. But to be named a head coach of a softball team in the Atlantic 10, no less. This is not Division II. This is not Division III. This is Division I. This is not JUCO. How good did it feel for you to eventually get your opportunity being at the helm of a major Division I program?
Definitely no. I was blessed that my athletic director Thor Bjorn wanted to take a shot on, a young passionate coach. I think that that's something I had some, success and definitely was as an assistant coach had an impact on a program, and I think that they were looking for someone that was youthful, brought in a fun, loving, just energetic personality, someone that wanted to come in and do the dirty work and turn a program around. And I definitely think that that was something that, every single day I wake up, I think about just making sure that I'm putting in whatever I can to be able to, honor that decision that he made and make this program the best that it can be. So that's definitely something that was, it was an amazing feeling. I think there was, I had, a lot of sacrifice and support from, my family, my mother, my father. A lot of people know that, coaching, you have to kind of pay your dues and kind of, work your way up. So that was definitely something, that I was, I was very excited to be able to pay a lot of that forward just in the sense of accomplishment and, you know, bring some pride to the my family, my parents. And I definitely think it is it's only one in 300 and change in the country, so it's definitely something that
Mhm.
doesn't fly by me every single day. I know that it's definitely something that is to be cherished.
Yeah. And I want to ask you this because we brought up just a few minutes ago about the recruiting process, and you brought up how, as an assistant coach, you would go to Colorado, you would go other places, and it's a long road, no pun intended, literally a long road, but also it's a long road to the process of finding these student athletes or potential student athletes in the making. But now as a head coach for you, um, give us a little bit of a different, I guess, give us a little bit of a, um, I don't know, I don't want to call it a tutorial, but like a few differences in terms of what you did as an assistant to what a head coach is in charge of in terms of recruiting.
So normally you kind of have what you'd call like a recruiting coordinator, and that's something my associate. I'm blessed to have a phenomenal associate head coach. I think that in terms of recruiting, we're very much on the same page on a lot of talent. Actually, it's quite funny. There are times where we can. She can see my associate head coach Mary can see one player a little bit earlier in the season, and she's a little unsure, so she kind of wants to see a kid develop. And then I'll be like, "Hey, did you see this kid?" And she'll be like, "Yeah, I had her down." You know what I mean? So I think it's definitely something where I'm very, very blessed to have that relationship. So currently, she's the recruiting coordinator. So first weekend out with my other assistant or myself, it just kind of depends on the schedule. They'll go out and they'll kind of look at a lot of the talent. Some weekends I'm there too, but typically first weekend out, they'll go out and know what our needs are and kind of see some kids, and then come back with a nice list, and then I'll follow up, and go see, and we'll kind of have a back and forth and see how a lot of those players develop over the summer. And then ultimately decide who we think we should offer and things like that. So.
Yeah. And for those that know, obviously, with recruiting being a very difficult job, as Bridget has repeatedly said throughout this, throughout our conversation here, not even so much hard, but it's the grind to get there, to find them. But now that COVID has struck, um, I want to jump around a little bit and then, kind of go here and then go back. But ever since COVID hit, and with knowing that there is a dead period in recruiting and also seeing people, or seeing potential student athletes, and I can, I see this all the time in our insider NCAA emails where the dead period, it has been extended multiple times, and I don't even know, I believe it's still going on. until I think sometime in February or March or something like
April.
that. But something
Yeah.
like that, yeah. And for you to be able to do things completely differently, and no kidding, you're literally thrown in the fire. You and another 352 head coaches in Division One have to do the same exact thing. As COVID struck, how difficult was it for you as a head coach to be able to say, okay, we now have to do everything and literally everything differently now that COVID has struck?
I think for us, we were in we were in a good situation. At that time, we had already had 321s committed, so that was something that we're averaging about like 2 years out. So it's I think the class of 22 and 23 is actually a little bit more of the interesting the interesting classes because we had a pretty good sample size of this year's NLIs, and in terms of 22 and 23, that's definitely where we have had to rely a little bit more on some leads that we did have, but also be able to do a little bit more of virtual recruiting, and a little bit more. Athletes Go Live is a big platform that a lot of the softball teams are using, and really just kind of be able to shift to going off of what you can see on film. But a lot of recruits have gotten very creative with Twitter, with a lot of different things, and a lot of softball clubs are doing more kind of open video workouts. They've all kind of adjusted to the best of their ability just as much to be able to provide some exposure for these young women. And so that's it's definitely been it's definitely different. But I also think there are certain things you can get on film, and then there are certain things you can't. So I think once you are able to speak with the student athlete, the prospective recruit, I think that's become even more integral in just trying to see who they are as a person, just how they are going to respond to challenges. I think there's a lot of things that you can see on a field or just kind of feel on a field when you're there in person, just kind of what energy that player brings that I think is sort of missing via the virtual recruiting. But I think at the same time, if you know the right question to ask, and the with the rules, the players are able to kind of talk with them a little bit. So I think you have a different kind of snapshot in terms of that. But again, none of them are able to come. Our committed kids haven't even done an official visit. So it's definitely a very different world right now.
It's really crazy to see how things, when they shut down, when March 12th, 2020 was the day that the sports world came to a close. And we always bring that up on the interview series. We always ask all of our guests, players, coaches, executives, all of the above. March 12th, 2020, Bridget, you guys, your team rather, was 4-16. Unfortunately, it double-digit consecutive losses. Your team has progressed every single year that you have been there, whether it be a single win, whether it be a few wins, regardless. How difficult was it that because COVID struck, and I'm sure that there was a time when you guys were thinking, we can get out of this, we can turn things around, and then COVID struck. What was the team's response when all of this happened? What was your response when all of this happened and you found out that your softball season was officially over for the year?
It was very interesting. I think hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
You're looking at it now, and it's almost unbelievable at the time that we couldn't have imagined what would happen. I think it was almost like dominoes. I think we had heard we were on the road when it happened, when everything kind of got shut down. But it was, we had just finished a game, and we were, getting a meal, and you're watching all this news, and it's like, okay, this conference is, stopping play. This one's and all of a sudden you're just like, wow, what's going on right now? Like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
And is this really going to, extend all the way down, and what's going to happen? And then, I think, just personally, as soon as the NBA started, as soon as those professional leagues really started paving the way of like how serious things really were, because none of us really knew at the time. We didn't have the details that we have now.
Right.
I think it was heartbreaking. The seniors, that was my first recruiting class to the University of Rhode Island. So I think your first recruiting class, while not any more important, is just always a little bit different, always like holds a different place in your heart. They're the first group that trusted you. They said, yes, I want to come do this with you. And they came on a belief. They didn't have any evidence. They didn't, they just said, yes, I see your vision. I want to come be a part of this. I want to help you, change this program. And, so that was something that, for 4 years they had invested, and they truly did make a huge impact. So to see their careers at the time be cut short like that, and not have their hard work just kind of pan out the way it should, was difficult to watch. I think there was so many unknowns that I think it was more, obviously there was a fear, but there was just, an air of uncertainty. Some of them, there was, one of our seniors had already had a position locked up at Pitt, in their graduate engineering program. She had a phenomenal opportunity. So I think that was something for her. We kind of all knew that this was it for her. She was already moving on. I think the others had a little bit more wiggle room with what they were going to do. So there was still like a lot of uncertainty and figuring out, were we going to be able to provide resources for them? Were they going to get an extra year? But yeah, there was an incredible amount of sadness, but we were also hopeful at the time that the NCAA would do the right thing and figure out a way for this to not be the end of their story. So I think that was something that we were all very happy when they kind of came back and, said everyone was going to get a 5th year. And we were very blessed to have 4 out of the 6 were able to return, and some of them doing double majors. Some of them already have a master's and are doing, another certificate program. So, they've all kind of found their way to further themselves a little bit academically as well, kind of staying for a 5th year. So overall, I think, it's something that has blessed our program to have players who have been with us now 5 years and really know exactly what we expect of them. And they're able to we do have a little bit of a larger team, and really, be members of our leadership committee and help shape what's going to be the future of Rhody softball. So
you said it perfectly, where they come back for a 5th year. The experience is crucial. And that was actually going to lead to that's a perfect follow-up, actually, because now you're able to, good Lord willing, good Lord, hopefully, have a full season, again, hopefully uninterrupted. That would be the greatest gift ever. But, from what we've seen everywhere, literally everywhere, it's very simple. We don't know if there's going to be any interruptions or whatever the case may be. But, to all of you out there, especially to you, Bridget, to your team, obviously we hope that everyone stays healthy. We hope that everyone stays safe. And that's the biggest thing, especially on the softball field. Last year also, you guys played Seton Hall. You played Kennesaw State, Marshall, St. Francis, PA, fellow NEC school, University of the Pacific out in Stanford. You know what? I want to go off script for a quick second because I love how these softball teams and even baseball teams too. Obviously they go all to the warm climate areas and to the warm climate states, and especially in California too. Talk about those cross country trips. Obviously, you went to Colorado as a recruiter, but now as a head coach, you're going to these different tournaments, and to get your team involved, whether it be in California, Kennesaw, Georgia, Charlotte, North Carolina, Elon, North Carolina. You guys played Seton Hall that year. Lynchburg, Virginia. You guys were going to at the time of the cancellation. And to be able to do that, to go cross country now as a head coach, and to be able to to lead these student athletes, especially from February all the way until the end of the semester. Talk about that and how the journey is for you as a head coach, and really what that means to you.
Well, I mean, for us especially, I think the early season, just the decision with tournaments, to kind of make schedules, it always kind of varies. There's a couple boxes that we like to check. Obviously some great mid-major talent. We're definitely looking to get ourselves prepared for the best of the best in the A10. So definitely going out and challenging ourselves with, tournament teams and teams that have kind of made the tournament in the prior year and are going to push us to play our best softball, and get us prepared for A10 season. I think it's definitely always on the docket. One of the things that we also do like to do is, because we do have a very diverse roster in terms of geography, we do like to try and get back to areas where some of our players are from. So that was one of our first, apart from the beautiful weather in Stanford, California. It was definitely something to be able to play on that stage and have, almost, I think it was almost 6 or 7 at the time, players on our team were from California. And that was the first time we were able to kind of get back, and for them we had almost just as many fans out there as we do, here in Rhode Island. So that was really, really cool to spend some time with our West Coast family. And we're able to do some tailgating and, meeting grandmas and just, different things. Honestly is one of my favorite memories thus far. We were able to have like a huge cookout that some of the parents did. And, you can see the genuine joy on the kids' faces and on the parents' faces when they're able to share in that part of their career. So that's also another kind of side thing that we always like to do, and I think everyone kind of enjoys that, but really just set us up to be able to win an A10 championship and get some quality games against some quality teams. And again, I think it's all about just kind of growing them as people. Some of them got to see the Golden Gate Bridge. It's not a vacation. We're there for business, but I think it's definitely something that being able to have some different experiences is always a fun thing.
Now, going back to the first couple of years, obviously, as the Rams head coach, directly off of your biography, courtesy of Shane Donaldson. Thank your SID week, by the way, ends tonight. So thank you, Shane, for all of the things that you do for Bridget and for all of Rhody Rams Nation up there. You led Rhode Island to 12 victories, and that marked a 9-win improvement from the previous year, from 2015. You went 8-15 in Atlantic 10 play in the second season, which matched the program's most conference wins in 15 years. Regardless of the record, to be able to do that and to be able to lead a team where, again, it's not your recruiting class, where you are coming in with brand new players that you've never seen before, and you are not the ones to basically go out and find them, do that research that you had mentioned earlier, and all of that grind, to be able for these players to buy in. How big is that for you as a coach? And not only you as a coach, but also the development of your program as a whole moving forward.
I definitely think it takes buy-in, but I think it's also just being able to provide them, with the capabilities to be the best that they can be.
Yeah.
So, I think when, we arrived, in my head, it was just teach, teach, teach.
Yep.
It was definitely something that, I think that they welcomed us with open arms. We were very, very blessed. They were very receptive, and we did have the same vision. I think that the players that were there did want to, to see University of Rhode Island softball be the best and compete in the A10. That was their dream just as much as it was ours. So I think they really welcomed it. They welcomed the challenge. Were there ups and downs? Of course. That's definitely, to say that there weren't challenges would be an understatement. But I think at the end of the day, we all wanted to rise to them and really do the best we could to overcome them and to succeed as much as we could, and really to put a product out on the field that we could be proud of. And I think we did that and so much more. So we have phenomenal alumni. That was definitely something that even just not this past year, but the year before, it was amazing. We were able to get almost, 20 something alumni back, which was the most that they've had in a while, and several generations. And I think, it was something pretty special to see just a little bit of that microcosm of what you're building, and to see that, there is a camaraderie, and there is that piece that's building and growing. But yeah, we couldn't have done, what we did without the buy-in of the players that we had when we got here. And, we're forever grateful, for them being open-minded just as much as, for us, to be able to bring what we were bringing to the table. So
now, for those that do know about college softball, there's only 7 total innings in there, unless obviously it goes into extras. But we're heading into the top of the 7th inning here of our conversation. And for those that are just joining us here, 4 minutes before the top of the hour, 9 p.m. Eastern time, I'm Joey Jarzynka, Bridget Hurlman, University of Rhode Island Rams softball head coach. Can't thank you enough for joining us here, and we're almost done here. But to get a little bit into in terms of more of an interview with a head coach now, instead of specifically putting the microscope on you as a person and how you got to where you got to. Now we'll ask a couple of questions in terms of the Rams softball team and the softball program. And just in 2019, you have a junior shortstop, Ari Castillo, who has been one of the program's best ever to hit the field as a Ram and to wear the uniform. Ranked 3rd in season average in program history, 392 under your watch. The list keeps going on here for her, by the way, folks. 371 batting average, ranked 2nd in season average. 657 slugging percentage, ranked 4th in season history, and also 456 on base percentage, ranked 2nd in a single season category in Rams history. So, Bridget, under your watch, all of those numbers stick out in the record book, and it's going to forever. As long as this program is on this earth, it's going to be you that led Ari Castillo as a freshman to new heights. And now she's a junior, and she's back again. And talk about her emergence and how she also bought in to you coming on board. And if I'm not mistaken, was she one of yours?
Yeah, she was definitely in our recruiting class. Yeah.
And what she's done, or what she did in 2019, beyond remarkable. Also, there is also a right fielder too by the name of Sammy Villarreal. Is that the correct pronunciation?
It is.
Say it again.
I said you got it.
A10 all-rookie team in 2019. There was a little bit of a tough sophomore start for her. She started off strong and then unfortunately couldn't get it going. But the biggest thing here is that she's back. And now that the season has, obviously with 2020 being a wash, and because of one massive asterisk, next to it due to COVID and to the ongoing pandemic. In 2019, your team set records with team offense in a single season. On base percentage, 341 in 2019, slugging percentage, 398, and 33 home runs as a team. Another program record, single season record, by the way. So again, we bring up the accolades all the time, but obviously from what you've said, winning is key. But winning has happened. Sammy Villarreal. Last year, as we brought up, little difficulties heading into her sophomore season. How does the break, and how does almost a full year off, if you will, get her a brand new challenge heading into her junior year? And how, we'll rephrase the question, to get her going again in the last year, how difficult was it for you, or how easy was it for you to work with her amid this pandemic to get her to her 2019 self again?
Well, Sammy unfortunately had a season-ending knee injury. That's definitely something that she like midway through. That's why you saw she kind of struggled and then kind of didn't get a lot of opportunities.
Yes.
So that's kind of like her story, unfortunately. But yeah, she was a huge impact player for us in terms of being a leadoff hitter and walks and really being a table setter for sure. And I think we've just in terms of, I think, we've all been able to hit the reset button for sure. Yeah. I think that's definitely something that we're really looking forward to. And as a staff, we really were able to take the time. My associate head coach had also done a lot of work with the culture, and we kind of got the team together and kind of put a little bit more of that culture in place that I think was able to help us really kind of overcome a lot of the challenges over the pandemic and things like that. So utilizing the time to really grow the players, and I think kind of going into the season, I think in terms of, Ari and Sammy, they're phenomenal athletes. I mean, definitely some of the best to ever wear the University of Rhode Island uniform. And we're very, very excited that, they're back. And I know that they're going to do amazing things this year. But I do think one of the things that we're very much looking forward to is the amount of depth that we have on this team, and really how, I think all of the parts and the sum of the parts is really going to complement one another and be able to put, probably some of the, the most talented lineups we've had out there to really compete. So I think it's just very exciting. Honestly, I think we are almost T-minus, February 13th, so not that far away. But definitely excited to see how all of the work is kind of paid off, and we get to go and do the fun thing, which is compete, put it all out there on the line to see where we measure up. So.
And 2021, as you brought up, it does kick off for the ladies for the University of Rhode Island Rams February 13th. You have a 3-game set, or actually, no, excuse me, you have a 5-game set in 3 days. You have 2 doubleheaders, way off there. A doubleheader on February 13th. You have 2 games there, and then you obviously have the matinee, most likely on Valentine's Day, the 14th. So you'll be playing 3 games in 2 days there. There we go. Yes, that looks right. And then you guys go to, or have about 2 weeks off, and go to Sacred Heart, another NEC school. And you guys are really in the Northeast again, which is pretty cool. So you're not traveling that far, unfortunately, due to COVID-19, which is unfortunate for you and for all of the prospective student athletes that will be joining you. The ones that you said that haven't even made their official visit yet, they won't be having a normal freshman year where they're heading around the country, or heading south, or heading west, or wherever it may be, to get the real student athlete experience in the sport of softball. So as we head into the bottom of this 7th inning here of our conversation, let's go more into generalized area here. So When the team was done for the season and there was no workouts that were permitted by the NCAA. You were not allowed to have team workouts, not allowed to do certain things like that. But you were allowed to do Zoom activities and do Zoom things along those lines. So what was the, I guess, let's call it the fun activity that you and your whole team were able to do on Zoom?
Well, we definitely had a plethora of things that we did. One of my favorite fun things that we did was Guess That Baby. One of my favorites. So everyone, including the staff, submitted to two players on the team baby pictures, and then we kind of had like a PowerPoint. And you had to guess who the baby was to get points. So that was one of the more fun activities that we did. I would say that that's one of my favorites from the Zoom era of we had a little bit of a break where I think we all just kind of processed what happened and stuff like that. But like I said, we kind of dove into a little bit of culture and what we needed to do to, like you said, we did not get off to the start that we wanted to get off on. So just kind of really delving into that as a group and figuring out really what was going to be what we were about and where we were going to go and how we were going to make sure that that this season got off on a better foot and stuff like that. So that was definitely a lot of the things that we were able to kind of get done during that time.
A full regroup in the midst of a pandemic is really something amazing. And obviously I hope that you personally and you as a program, you and your program, come out of it in the green, where we see some more victories, and that would be pretty cool in the A10. You guys start off not getting off to the start you wanted. You come back out strong. That would really be a cool thing. And March 17th is a big return home for you and your program against UConn. March 17th, 3:00 right now, bearing any schedule changes, which is a phenomenal opponent to open your home campaign on.
Yeah, for sure. As you can tell, we're definitely more regional. So a lot of our opponents are within busable distance, but very excited. I mean, the last time we had some A10 play, we were able to get, our first one against Fordham and our first one against UMass, perennially just powerhouses. So I think we're absolutely juiced. UConn is, they're another staff who's just kind of took over in the last 2 or 3 years. Very familiar with them. So very excited to get that rivalry back and going again. And, I know they're going to put a good product out on the field, but very excited to be back home in Kingston and to be able to compete in front of hopefully fans, but maybe not. But even still, just be able to be on our home turf is going to be, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And for those that do not know, obviously, we did say just a few moments ago, February 13th, the season does start at Elon in Elon, North Carolina. February 13th, it is a doubleheader. Keep up with everything on GoRoadie.com/sports/softball for all of your softball needs. So as we close this one out here, Bridget, I want to ask you this, because this is something that we ask everybody at the end of every interview. Who is your biggest inspiration in life to help you achieve your career goals?
I would definitely have to say my dad. He is definitely someone who pushed me ever since I'm young, pushed me out of my comfort zone and really challenged me to grow. My mother made a lot of sacrifices along the way as well. But my dad especially, took the bull by the horn, served his country, got an education, and really did the best he could to help me succeed and do what I love. So every single day I wake up, definitely trying to honor all the sacrifices he made in order for me to be able to do what I love and be in the situation that I am today. And he was definitely someone who is self-made, and I try and pride myself on that as well. Just, doing whatever it takes to succeed and get to where you need to get to and where you want to get to.
Well, we can't thank Bridget. We cannot thank your father enough for his service. That really is fantastic, and to be able to look up to him is really great as well. And both your parents, more so as well. During these uncertain times and rough times, yeah, as a collegiate student athlete, as a collegiate coach, as an aspiring collegiate coach, and because the both of us work in collegiate athletics, I get this question a lot. What would be your advice to an aspiring person, whether it be a softball coach in SID like myself, but for you more so, obviously, as a softball head coach? What would your advice to be to an aspiring coach or an aspiring collegiate athlete, or even a head coach or an assistant, to keep your head up high in these uncertain times when everything is just one big question mark?
I think for me, it's always about like your sphere of influence, really what you have control over. I think just making the people you touch on a daily basis, the job that you do, doing that to the best of your ability, providing hope, or just doing something kind for someone around you. I think just being able to control what you can control and make it the best that you can. And I don't know, for me, it's pretty simple. Anything that's, been ever worth achieving it isn't easy. It all comes with challenges. So I think it's just a matter of how you meet those challenges and just kind of rise above and do the best you can with the situation that you're given, is always going to make you come out on top and, be a champion, whether it be with a ring or not, but just having that, that championship mindset.
That's really unbelievable. To think that, and having that championship mindset, especially, and for all of those that know, and a Kobe Bryant fan, today is the 1 year anniversary of his death. Mamba mentality, that is something else also that is that can be personified throughout the whole, through everything. It's really, really unbelievable, just to always be a champion. And that's a great quote from you, Bridget, to live on, and to strive towards, to be a champion, whether it be with a ring or without a ring. I like it. I like that. That's perfect. So one more thing here. We do have a comment here from Ian Schreier. That is my co-host on the Primetime Rundown. Apparently his neighbor is someone that Bridget knows, which obviously is very weird, because we were talking about this off camera, how, both Bridget and I know people. We know the collegiate sports industry is so small. Ian Schreier's neighbor is a former player of Bridget's named Danielle Gariglio.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she is
awesome.
she is a fellow SID at Davidson. So that is something else. So that's pretty cool. And she was at URI with you.
She was.
Wow.
So Danny Garilio is probably one of our most, if you're ever going to meet someone who is roadie, she bleeds Keene blue. And yeah, she's definitely, she made a huge impact. And she was one of those players that I attributed earlier to of really wanting Rhode Island to be a winning program. And she was a phenomenal student athlete, and really was able to excel, and went through our sports communications program. Did some great work with Shane, as you said earlier, was able to do some internship with him, and now she's out at Davidson, and I actually talk to her almost every month. So yeah, it's really weird how much of a small world it is, but definitely someone who is a great ambassador for the program and for the school. And she just made a huge mark. So shout out to Danny. Yeah, she's awesome.
It's really unbelievable. We keep bringing it up. It's such a small world in the sports industry, and let alone the collegiate sports industry too. Bridget Hurlman, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, the University of Rhode Island Rams head softball coach. Bridget, I can't thank you enough for joining me here tonight. And obviously a big thank you to your first cousin, Al Carl, the host of the Essential Wrestling podcast on this website, for getting us together and making this happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joey. I had a great time.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Just before you go, we obviously want to give a shout out to your cousin's show as well. Make sure you subscribe to the Essential Wrestling Podcast. Al Carl, John DeConnie, Ryan Joy, John Smith, Tyler Adele, Gary Mehefe, all bring you the Essential Wrestling Podcast every Tuesday night right here on the Eastern Observer starting at 6 p.m. You can also subscribe Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or by searching on YouTube, I-95 Sports Network. Do not forget, also take a peek at Bridget's cousin, Al Carl, Essential Wrestling Podcast, the Royal Rumble special on Saturday, January 30th, starting at 3 p.m. right here on the Eastern Observer. So really good stuff here for everyone on the Blackjack Media Group staff, and also myself here, Joey Jarzynka, also on the Eastern Observer staff. For all of us here, Bridget Hurlman, myself, Joey Jarzynka, we'll see you next time.